Good morning. Welcome to UUFCC. This morning we have Reverend Bob Murphy with us, and we will start with Lynn blowing our conch shell, and then we'll do entry song 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. I am your worship associate, Ryan Richardson, again. For those of you keeping track, this is number 3 out of 5 weeks. You'll get a break from me next week. Today we have Reverend Bob Murphy in a sermon titled Liberation Unlimited. Whomever you are welcome here. Whatever your spirituality, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, whatever your identity, you are welcome here. If you're looking for a church where we support each other, even through trying times, you have definitely found your home. We welcome you here in the chapel or online, wherever you may be. We remind everyone that we are live streaming, and then this will be available on YouTube later. So we use just first name and last initial. I take this time to remind you to silence any of your cell phones that may be on. If you are a first-time visitor or returning today, please stand if you will, or if you're willing, and introduce yourself. Tom will come around with the mic. Over here, please.
I don't need a mic. Oh, I see. Well, my name is Gail Fritchie, and I first came here, I believe it was 2018, and I was working on building your own theology with Rev Amy. And then we retired here in 2020 or so, and along with COVID, which we brought from Europe. Thank you very much. But they had no name for it at the time, or at least we didn't. And we have been here and at the UU in Venice as well, on and off. And my husband.
Jamal, yes, my wife, I guess, came to this place before me. I was still working, and when I retired, we joined this congregation. It was convenient, close by, and we enjoyed it. But then we took a leave, so we are back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm finally awake. My name is Sheldon Arpad. This is my first time here. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been warmly welcomed, and I hope to come back when time will allow. Thank you.
Welcome. We will have our prelude with Ryan Smith. Thank you, Ryan. And we will light our chalice, and actually Arlene will come up and help us with that. I have some words from Rumi, and they are as follows. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. This is the other one. Slide it forward. Push the button. And then slide it forward. There you go. 6 to 7, and it has to go through committee first. Please join us in unison. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please join us in singing number 1012 in the Teal hymnal, When I'm Frightened. My reading today is actually a song, and they are song lyrics entitled More by Yonatan Geffen. I apologize for that butcher. We'll learn to live with what we have. We won't seek anything else, but we will continue to ask. One more word of prayer. When will we be closer so we will feel and let go? We all want to be good, but there could have been more. More love, more listening, more faith between people, more peace, more hope, less jealousy and baseless hatred, more neshama, that word is for soul, more Elohim, that word is for God, more understanding between you and me, more joy, more life, less alone, more with you. We'll learn to live with what we have. We won't seek anything else, but we will continue to ask one more word of prayer, more joy, mine, yours, many more warm words, fewer lies, fewer tears, less to die, more to live, more love. We've come to the point in our service that we do the Book of Life and the dropping of stones. Today there are no entries in the Book of Life. There are entries in the Book of Life. Did you just write it?
I wrote it several days ago.
Okay, let me see.
No, I didn't. Yes, I did.
I didn't see anything in it earlier. Let me look. Maybe I missed. Oh. Okay, hold on, guys. I apologize. It got written after I looked, which somebody did like a literal last minute, and that's okay. So, Carolyn writes, please continue to offer silent support to Debbie Conrad and her husband as they sojourn in Wisconsin. Prayers and meditations are welcome. We will drop stones for the rest of our intentions. The water represents community. The stone represents your intention. And I know we've got at least one intention to come up. So please join us.
This is July birthday Sunday, all the birthdays in July. I have 2 discs. This was for my oldest son, Michael. My best friend gave it to me when he was born. The jeweler misspelled his name, spelled it M-I-C-H-E-A-L, and Carol was aghast. And I said, Carol, it's fine, it's a conversation piece. This turtle holds his ashes. My husband sent it to me this week. They had little turtles made for me that contain some of his ashes. So we have birth, we have death. When Reverend Bob was here, Charlotte's Web, which is a story of life, of resilience, but ultimately we all die. Out on the table will be a part of a cake, because yesterday my friends and I had a 103rd birthday celebration for a neighbor, Earl, who is bedridden in-house on hospice care by his dear wife. He knew we were there. It was raucous. We had balloons. We had Mickey and Minnie there. We had clowns. And part of his cake is out there. It's a carrot cake, very, very good carrot cake. Earl would be so happy to share this all with you, as am I.
All right, first of all, I want to apologize for bursting out, as I've been doing all morning. It's my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
And I forgot my hearing aids, so I can't hear a thing. But I want to tell everybody who has July birthdays, especially you, especially Carolyn, that mine happens to fall on this Sunday, but I want to wish all of you happy birthday too. That's one thing. The second thing was supposed to be in the Book of Life, and our website or our email has not been working very well, so apparently it did get here, but I wanted to say that I have just signed a contract for my next book of poetry. It's with a small publishing company in Oregon, sort of a Quaker community, a very nice editor. And it's called Putting the Pieces Together. And it won't be out for at least a year, but I'm really psyched. I'm very happy about that. It's everything I've written since my book of memorial poems to Jim. So I hope you buy it.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Lord. Okay, this first stone I have so much gratitude for. I think you all know that Lori fell and broke her collarbone and bruised several ribs, but I'm so thankful she didn't re-break her shoulder. Oh, dear God. And my second one is for gratitude. There have been so many people that have helped us. They've baked breads, they've brought food, they've helped us in so many ways, and I don't know what I'd do without it right now. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank everybody that came out on Tuesday to watch my favorite movie, Greater, with me. Dennis informed me that I probably didn't broadcast that it was my birthday that day, and that's why I chose that day. So if I didn't, ta-da! Today Tuesday was my birthday. It's the same birthday as Will Ferrell, by the way, so that must mean something. So yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that came out.
I have one as well. I was really happy to see this morning one of my dear patients, Dessa, in Toledo, who's had 3 surgeries for aneurysms in the last 6 months and 3 strokes, all after losing her husband. Got married yesterday. So in all the mess that she's had in her life, she had a wedding in her home with her new husband, and I was floored and pleased all in the same breath.
Well, I hadn't intended on coming up here. I had just had my 69th birthday on the 7th. I'm actually cancer then, the crab. And what, I don't know, somehow 69, you know, the numbers themselves, yin and yang, speak of balance and reflection for me, and the work that's unfinished. And I've mentioned to a few people here, I do guided imagery and meditation as a service for the community at the local library in Northport every first Monday and third Monday of the month at 3 o'clock. And I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and it's very relaxing. We do breathing exercises in the beginning to center, and we do a guided imagery, which is essentially salutations that I took from my yoga practice that I began doing in the 80s. And the meditation is, again, guided. So, you know, you're sitting and basically relaxing and doing some inner healing, inner work. But most people, some people sit on the floor because they're afraid they'll fall out of their chairs from being too relaxed. And I'm going to be working on a program of communication called Bridging the Gap in order to help us to reach out and communicate and recognize our commonality rather than difference. And this is something that if anybody's interested to participate and if they have anything that they have to offer, again, I'll be going through the library to do something like this, and then taking it out into the community after we have found a workable program. So these are some of the things that I want to bring into my life and then back into the community. And this is what 69 is bringing to me. So.
Today is Anna's birthday, our fellowship administrator.
Happy birthday if you're watching, Anna, and thank you for everything. I will drop one final stone for all those joys and concerns that may be too tender for us to mention today. We are in for some special music with the choir. They're going to do an anthem.
We have a responsive reading this morning. It's number 662 in your gray hymn book, number 662. And the custom is I do the first few words, we join together for the italics. The years of all of us are short, our lives precarious, our days and nights go herring on, and there's scarcely time to do the little that we might. Yet we find time for bitterness, for petty treason, and evasion. What can we do to stretch our hearts to a little? And here we are, all of us, all upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny, living our lives between the briefness of the day and the dark, kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious, flickering flame of life. How does it happen that we are not kindred in all things else? How strange and foolish these wide separation divide us. And the words are from A. Powell Davies, one of the great Unitarian Universalist ministers in Washington, D.C., and Wales and other places during the 20th century. Well, it's been a busy 30 days for Unitarian Universalists. A very busy 30 days indeed. I'm going to talk about two things of special importance, but they hardly need much introduction in this congregation because you're already involved with both of them. And one of these things in particular, well, you helped to make it happen. So you deserve some recognition and credit on this very special Sunday. Now, first of all, I have to provide some explanation for newcomers especially. The annual convention for Unitarian Universalists is called the General Assembly. It takes place at the beginning of summertime, so we're talking about around June 21st or so. Summer solstice happens every year. This year was entirely electronic, by the way. The first time that ever happened. And did any of you participate in the General Assembly? Were any of you watching? Okay. Well, you might go back and watch some of the videos because you'll find mention of the Charlotte County congregation at critical moments. That's a bit of a surprise. You might enjoy that. Now, lots of things happened at the General Assembly this year. One of the things especially important was, well, we rewrote Article 2 of our national bylaws, the association's bylaws. And that's what sort of brings all the Unitarian Universalist congregations together. It's our statement of purpose. We used to say it's our statement of principles. Nowadays we say our statement of values. And there's some other special language that's included in Article 2 that explains who we are as Unitarian Universalists, what we represent, and what it is we want to do in the world. Now, in our 7 values, which of course, rather nicely, have been posted right over there, well, if you read the text, and I encourage you to read the text, you'll find, well, we talk about all kinds of things in our value, in our statement of values. So we talk about equity and generosity and compassion, and we talk about the interdependent web of which we're all a part, right? Okay, that's been retained. We talk about our concern about racism and other forms of historic injustice that continue in the world. And then for the first time in Unitarian Universalist history, we do something really remarkable. We try to bring all the pieces together. Okay? We haven't done that in the past. Sometimes we've sort of seen principle 1, principle 2, principle 3, and it's not always clear just how these different principles and statements relate to each other. But this time we've done something that's a little bit different. And you can see it on that chart over there. Because we've put the power of love at the center of everything. Everything. So whether we're talking about interdependence or transformation or other concerns among the 7, we realize everything's connected. All the pieces fit together in one mosaic. And it's a holistic view. And for some of you, this may seem, kind of new. We're going to have to work with this. But it's very important not just to see the whole package, the whole picture, but to realize that love is at the center. And that's what pulls everything together. Now, when Unitarian Universalists talk about love, a religious conversation, a spiritual conversation, we can be talking about all kinds of things. So for some, it might be a liberating experience. We talk about liberation a lot today. It may be friendship, affection, reconciliation, desire for peace, and all of these things are very important, and they're all part of the picture. But when Unitarian Universalists talk about love, and I think this is true for people in other faith traditions as well, we often go to a much deeper level, something that is very spiritual, emotional, if you want to use that term, but something that is felt in the heart. And quite often, it's just the desire to want to get things right in the world. Everything at peace, everything in the right set of relationships. We want people to care about themselves. We want people to care about their neighbors. We want people to care about, the environment that we share with others. We want things to be right in the world. And quite frequently, that's what we have in mind when we talk about the power of love in a religious context. And it does involve peace and reconciliation and certainly social justice and other things. But it's something that's felt, and it is very personal, and it can go very deep indeed. We often try to express our love through humanitarian works. That's stated in our purpose, by the way. You'll find that in Article 2, humanitarian concerns. And that brings me to the second thing that has happened within the last 30 days for Unitarian Universalists. And at this point, we give special reference to the Unitarian Universalists in this congregation. Because the General Assembly, the National Convention, adopted a statement which this congregation endorsed with two other congregations in Florida. And the statement is called World on Fire, Humanitarian Work and the Unitarian Universalists. World on Fire, Humanitarian Work and the Unitarian Universalists. And that statement developed in large part because of discussions that happened here in Charlotte County and also in the Key West congregation and in the United Fellowship, which is a small congregation of UUs in St. Petersburg. These three congregations and one other congregation in Massachusetts came together with others and really put this statement together over, several months. Some of you were very much involved in those discussions, especially as we talked about Florida and climate change. Now, it's an unusual statement about climate change, and some of you are going to have to brace yourselves for this. In some ways, it's a liberating experience. There's really nothing said about solar panels, although they're very important. And there's really nothing about electric automobiles that's mentioned, although they're certainly important, and I know there are a few that are outside in the parking lot. Engineering, new technology, they're all very important. But they don't really receive a lot of attention in this new statement. It's a statement about climate change, but it's a little bit different. Well, you might say it's very different, because at the heart of the statement is the power of love. and just the desire to get things right in the world. The desire for people to live in peace and with concern for each other, and with concern for other creatures as well. When we talk about neighbors, we're not just talking about humanity. There is special concern given in this climate change statement to the people and creatures who are vulnerable before, during, and after disasters. So yes, we want to prevent, if we can, climate change. We want to reduce the effects if we can. But we realize there will be disasters. They will happen. How are we going to deal with that reality? What happens after the disaster? So much of the statement has developed with these concerns for marginalized groups, groups that are very vulnerable. Concern is expressed, for example, about people who are homeless. Well, obviously, they're at the greatest risk during extreme weather. They live with the storms. They live outside. And you don't have to go very far to find homeless people in Charlotte County. And they need our love, and they need our attention, and not 30 years from now. They need adequate shelter today, with access to all the utilities and all the basic services that we want for ourselves. Our concerns extend to, well, workers outdoors. So we think about farm workers, we think about construction workers, utility workers, we think about other people, healthcare workers, many of them, who are really in extremely difficult jobs on the front lines before, during, and after disasters. So occupational health and safety is one of the concerns that's raised in the statement. And there are other groups as well that are identified. So we think about, well, people living in institutions, prisons, and in other places. We think about people with disabilities and others who sometimes are abused, ignored, sometimes just left behind when something goes wrong in the environment. And our love and our concern extends to all of these folks and to others as well. It's interesting that the statement developed with special concern and involvement by people in the LGBTQ communities. Because in Florida especially, and other parts of the South, when there's a disaster, they're often in a very difficult position. Now, I work in emergency shelters. I've been working in emergency shelters in different states for something over 30 years now, about 35 years maybe. And I know that it can be very hard, especially in the South, when a same-gender couple comes into a shelter and asks for protection, asks for sanctuary. Are you really married? You expect to be together during this storm? You know, is that what you want? And if children are involved, do you have custody of these children? Can you prove it? You know, things like that happen much too often. They shouldn't happen because the FEMA laws are very explicit about no discrimination. But there's really no federal protection for the civil rights of LGBTQ people. It's not included under the civil rights legislation. So even though FEMA may have good intentions, in practice at the grassroots level during a crisis, things don't always work out the way they should be. So we try to set things right in the world, and these are some of the concerns that we address in that statement. There's some other things as well that are included. Older people have been especially important in putting the World on Fire statement together. Because older people, well, we know we're vulnerable. Some of us have mobility issues. We can't drive automobiles anymore. Maybe we don't even own an automobile, don't have a driver's license. Some of us live with disabilities of different kinds. Some of us have been left behind at difficult times. It's not surprising that the concerns of older Americans have pushed this resolution forward. And it's been adopted by the General Assembly, our National Convention, by a vote of 95%. Okay, so 95% of the Unitarian Universalists expressed the support for this statement. And as one delegate told me, well, we don't see that level of support very often among UUs. Even a decision or a proposal to break for lunch would probably be controversial. But you know, we had a lot of discussions, and they started some of them back in October. And we dealt with various concerns as they came up. And I think it paid off at the end. Nobody stepped forward in opposition to your statement. Nobody. Maybe the opposition had melted away, but I don't know. We found a way to bring all of the almost all of the Unitarian Universalists together. So where do we go from here in our liberation? Okay. What is it that happens next? And I suggest that we have to take it step by step. That's the way life is lived, step by step. We often think in terms of big events. You know, what's the next big event that we have to deal with? You know what the next big event is. You're already on the edge of it. How hot was it outside yesterday in your homes? Anybody looking at a thermometer? Okay, what, 97 degrees? That's what it was where I was. Okay, we're moving into hot weather season. Triple digits will be with some of us very soon. If you live further inland, you've already seen triple-digit temperatures in Florida. So the next big event, heat wave, major heat wave. You're going to have to take good care of each other and look out for your neighbors as well. Worry about hydration, you know, worry about wellness checks, food, housing, transportation, other basic kinds of support. The next big event may be a hurricane, maybe August, maybe September, maybe next year. But my guess is, well, it's an unusually active season. We'll have at least one hurricane threat certainly by the end of September. And maybe it will arrive here and maybe it won't. But as we go step by step, these are some of the things that we need to think about. September 28th, September 29th. What's the significance? Some of you know this, come on, okay. That's the big climate change revival, okay, Zoom meeting. This congregation was the first in Florida to enroll in this project. National Project for the Unitarian Universalists. It'll be available on Zoom. I know that some of you are already excited and active in this project. I hope all of you become involved in this project. You'll have the opportunity to be with each other, to watch a computer screen. Maybe you want to set it up here, invite friends to come in. Our national president, President Betancourt, will do a presentation. There'll be various workshops. There'll be music. Looking for Ryan at this point. Okay, the other Ryan. All kinds of things are going to happen. 2 days, okay. And that's a very big event about climate change that involves Unitarian Universalists. So that's another step that we're going to take in the process. And then we get to Election Day in November. All right, you're all familiar with that one, right? Okay. This is going to be one of the most important election days in American history. Okay, there's a great deal at stake. Obviously, the presidential race, but we're also talking about a series of ballot issues that are very important in Florida. And please don't overlook the local elections, because they are extremely important. County commissioners, school board, whatever you're voting on. Now, we encourage voter registration. We've been doing that for many years in UU churches, and we encourage voter education. And we help people to get to the polls on Election Day. That's something that's, well, worth doing. In many congregations, There are chaplains and other volunteers who go to the polls on election day just to make sure that everything is okay. And that's going to be very important this year. So there's a need to help people who are going to be standing in line, because they're going to be standing in line for a long time. Florida, by the way, has the national reputation for the longest waits to vote. Okay, for some reason, other states are very quick at getting people through the process, but in Florida, on a busy election, it's not unheard of. 45 minutes standing outside if it's too crowded inside, and you wait and you wait and you wait. Florida is notorious for that. So it's just important to be there, because I can tell you the deputies cannot come out and assist. They're not allowed to do that. But you can help. You can be in the parking lot where you're needed. And sometimes you can even go inside. So people with disabilities, people who may have children with them, service animals, whatever, you can provide assistance. One of the things that poll watchers are carrying increasingly, I learned this in Key West, by the way, the yellow umbrella. I brought a yellow umbrella today. This is considered to be a pro-democracy symbol. It started in Hong Kong some years ago, where the people were protesting the anti-democratic policies of the Chinese government. So they started to carry yellow umbrellas to protect themselves. And this custom has now gone to Greece and Italy and France and other countries, including the United States, the yellow umbrella. So if you go to the polls, this is something. If you can pick up one of these, they come in handy. And they're also useful for protection from sun and rain and all kinds of things. So these are the three big events that are coming up, and I hope this congregation is very much involved, because I will remind you as each of these events materializes. But you already have volunteers involved. There are other activities, and by the way, these other activities are mentioned in the statement, World on Fire. So there's references to celebrating the harvest holidays. All right, now, in the Northern Hemisphere, the harvest holidays, this goes back to Native American cultures 500 years ago. Traditionally, the harvest holidays are in September and October. And people come together and they celebrate the success of their crops during the summer season. And in Florida, we're learning how to adjust to climate change. So we're working with crops from the Caribbean, many native crops. Pineapple, of course, is native to this part of the world. It's been around for a long time, but we're also concerned about things like callaloo and cassava, and we experiment with all kinds of things. If you want to learn about these things, by the way, go to Echo Farm. How many of you have been to Echo Farm? Okay, everybody go to Echo Farm. You'll learn how to adapt to this changing environment and how to be helpful in community gardens. And today, one of the things that I have brought, it's right in front of the bowl, and you can barely see it. It's a Seminole pumpkin. So this is a native item, and they just grow. They're incredible. This one popped up inside of about 4 or 5 days. And I bring it to you, and maybe you can put it in the garden here. It needs a lot of water, but it's very hardy, very well adapted to changing environment in Florida. And give it a try, and if it doesn't work, we'll try it again. And that's how we make progress in the world. We just take care of plants and animals, and we keep on trying. So, you get a gift of a Seminole pumpkin. On July 13th, so a little bit more than a week ago, a young man with a semi-automatic rifle tried to kill Donald Trump. And of course, there was an immediate panic, not just in Pennsylvania and throughout the United States, but overseas. There was immediate panic. And of course, Donald Trump was hospitalized. And then something remarkable happened. And I hope you were paying attention. Because Joe Biden telephoned Donald Trump, and I believe he was still hospitalized at that point. And he said, Donald. He said, Donald. He didn't say, Mr. Trump. He said, Donald, how are you? I'm grateful that you're still alive. I'm concerned about you. We don't have a complete transcript of what God said. That was a very private conversation. But Donald Trump said it was a very nice conversation and very much appreciated. And much of the world watched because I think those two gentlemen set a good example of how to proceed in this world. What it is we need to do. And it's not always easy to reach out to political opponents and others on the other side of the fence. But it happened. And it was very much appreciated. It was sort of like the experience after 9/11, where people just tried being nice to each other. And it didn't last for very long, but, well, it lasted for a while. But it's important to keep coming back to this kind of experience and to realize why and how it is so important. Just to tone down the violent rhetoric, to try to get beyond the hatred and the division and the confusion and the alienation and the self-indulgence, to get beyond that stuff into, I'm going to call it the experience of liberation. To center things on love, to just try to set a good example, and to try to get things right in the world. And it ain't easy, and you know that it ain't easy. But you also know it's what's necessary and what it is that we have to do. So I leave you with these thoughts on this occasion as we prepare for climate change, a difficult season in Florida. My last words come from Adrian Rich, a very famous poet. You can actually find this in your gray hymn book if you like this reading. It's 463. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed, I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Call it the experience of liberation if you like. It has something to do with the power of love. And that's what we celebrate on this occasion and on other occasions also. Namaste. Now we have a final hymn. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this one, Rising Green. Words by Carolyn McDade, a poet that many of you know, arranged by Jim Scott, a personal friend of mine, a well-known musician. I know Ryan is familiar with Jim Scott's work. And when this was introduced to the General Assembly some years ago, well, actually, I was doing a presentation about, guess what, the environment. And we had a staff person, Robin Adair from the National Association, who was speaking. And Jim Scott introduced his arrangement. And then after we had spoken, we left the stage. And the moderator said, well, we've heard from Robin Hood and Little John and Friar Tuck, and we will now sing our hymn. So let us know. I don't, Friar Tuck, give me a break. Okay. Anyway, give me a break. Okay. What is our hymn number? Our hymn number is 1068. Thank you.
Forever
Thank you, Reverend Bob. Some of you may have noticed I was glancing at my phone, not to be rude, while Bob was speaking. But in 2021, the state of Florida followed suit with the state of Georgia. And the reason I bring that up was Reverend Bob was talking to us about helping with the polls. In making it illegal to give food or water within 150 feet of a polling location. And I cannot give you guys an answer to that as of this point because it's been trickling through the courts and it's at a court of appeals right now. So I am not sure where we stand on if you help at a poll, giving food or water may or may not get you into legal trouble. So keep that in mind when you're out there in the election season. I actually used to help do poll work in my hometown in Ohio. I encountered some unpleasantries when I voted for a presidential election in 2020. People wearing all kinds of Trump stuff, and I got questioned as if I was, number one, old enough to vote at over almost 40 years old at the time, and number two, if I was actually a resident. And this is some random man screaming inside of my polling place at the public library. So I did make the phone calls to the lawyers that were set up in Florida. So keep that in mind as we go into voting season. But I wanted to add that because I remembered that in my mind as Bob talked, and I do not have an answer for you as to whether you're allowed to give water or not at a polling place. So we probably should be safe and not hand up, just so that you're all aware. We are at the point in our service that this week I'm not going to forget that we have an offering to take. It is through your generosity that we are able to continue to give you a weekly service, keep the lights on, and keep the people coming. If you are a new visitor or first-time visitor, you do not need to contribute, as your presence here is your contribution. Only Janet got serenaded with the actual lyrics this morning on that, because my grandmother was a massive B.J. Thomas fan. And in 2001, she had a pretty much fatal stroke that she survived. And so when she was finally able to get out of the house, I took her and my grandfather to a B.J. Thomas concert. And I'm glad I did that. It was very important for her at that time. This is the time in our community that we do the life of the community, which is announcements for the upcoming week. We have them printed on the back of your order of service. You can also find announcements on our website. Today is Birthday Cake Sunday. So we have not only the carrot cake that Carolyn mentioned, but we have a Publix flavored cake out front for all of our July birthdays. You can read the rest of the announcements, but for our Fun Friday this week, we actually have 2 events. And Laura Learman is doing neurography at 10:30 in the morning on Friday. And then we are doing an open mic and drum circle. Ryan and I are hosting with Doug Maddock at 6:30 on Friday night. And we've got lots of participation and music. And even if you don't want to participate, I think this is a good one to just come and watch if that's all you want to do, because it's going to be here in the chapel at 6:30 on Friday night.
Could you tell me what neurography is?
Laura?
It's basically combining doodling and meditative work and just art. There's examples in the back.
Our lunch bunch today is going to switch it up just a little bit, because we've gotten into the routine of 3 or 4 restaurants over and over and over in our cycle. And we're going to do Twisted Fork, which is out on 776 next to the Harley dealer. Yes, it can be a crowded place, but it's also a very large capacity place, and we have never had trouble getting seating. A few people haven't been there. I think it's a good opportunity to try it out. So we're going to be the Twisted Fork on 776 about 12:30. And anyone that wants to attend is welcome to attend. And that's what I have for our life of the community. We will extinguish our chalice this morning. And the words that I have for that are as follows. As a faith community, let us strive to build relationships and break down the barriers that divide us so that we can be one in harmony. Blessed be. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. May those ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. Our final hymn will be number 1015, I Know I Can, verses 1, 2, and 4. And I'm sorry, somebody just brought to my attention that the social justice meeting is at 11:45 this morning, which is on our...
We had that meeting last week.
Oh. No, it was in the, I just heard somebody say social justice and thought I better mention it, so scratch that. Number 1015, verses 1, 2, and 4.